the average person sitting out here, let's say they're doing 2 to 3 million, maybe 5 million in sales. They don't have a sales team. Usually what they'll have, and I'm not talking to anyone in particular, but they'll have an account manager, but it's not a salesperson. It's like it's an engineer who understands, I guess, they're quoting and stuff, but they're not a salesperson. So they have somebody maybe on the account management, but they're still doing all the sales. They're doing about 2 to 5 million somewhere. Who would be your first sales hire? Who would be your second? Who would be, talk to them like if you were running their business, good, pretty profitable business, what would you do?
And I was talking to somebody about this last night. It might have been Tom from Virginia, but essentially, when I ran a small data center cloud business, I was the sales guy and the CEO. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to go out in the marketplace and find that killer. I think the biggest mistake anyone makes, the size of the clientele that you're looking at in the room, is going out and getting someone that looks good on paper. They've got 2 years there, 3 years there, an hour and a half there. They can talk just enough about this. They know just enough about that. We call them ramp jumpers, right? They have a life cycle. They can get 1 or 2 clients that follow them everywhere. They talk a good game. They sound good. They don't move the needle. Now, they're cost efficient. They're usually, much lower base. But what I want to find out, whatever market I'm in, assuming I have a good operation, I've got good products and services, I'm in a market where I can differentiate myself from our competitors. I want to go out and grow. I want to find the single best rep out there. I'd give them a piece of the company. Obviously, it would be shares that they'd have to earn over time, they'd have to vest in over time, or maybe they can trade commissions for shares. That's how I got into my last business. I traded my commissions for 3 years and barely made a mortgage payment when I had kids in diapers for a piece of the company. And I think when you find someone that wants to move the needle and a mover and a shaker, go out and hire that person, then bring in a young person that wants to be like them, a young apprentice that wants to just run through walls, learn, sponge off that other person. It isn't going to be cheap. We have about 8 or 10 of those movers or shakers in our hunting team. They all make base salaries over $200,000 a year. And they all on total comp make over $500,000. But, at the end of the day, if you're hiring a bunch of people at 100 that aren't working out, go out.
But they're selling how much MRR a month?
Well, in the beginning, nothing.
But now?
Zero. So, that's why you get the animals, right? You go out and get the animals that have a proven track record. Maybe the top sales rep at a Presidio or just wants to get out of it because wants to do less work on the VAR side of the house, but has all these contacts. It could be someone that's working at a larger MSP. It could be somebody that's selling technology software that has tons of relationships in the verticals that you're focused in on your market. But you want somebody that's an animal that will drive the needle and move your business and almost be a partner. And I think, it's also important to think of them as a skill. Like sales is a skill, just like programming, BGP routes in a router and having your CCIE or CCNA. It's an actual skill. And finding people that look at it as a craft, do all the right things, look at the key metrics, and it's activity plus strategy equals results. Go out and find that person that can be a partner more than a salesperson, because it's really hard to get lucky hiring those 1 to 5 year ramp hunters all over the place. Sometimes you can. And we certainly, in a team of 60 hunters, have some of them, and they're doing okay. But it's those 8 to 10 animals, as I would call it, that are moving the needle.
And so you would say hire an outside salesperson. That's the first thing.
Outside salesperson, and then bring in either an account manager or someone with 1 to 3 years selling something that can talk to customers, that's good, but wants to learn from this other person and is hungry and will do whatever it takes to be their apprentice. Then after another year, you're bringing in another one, and usually this stud animal outside hunter can probably support 2 or 3 inside people. Then you look for your next hunter after that. If I was running a $5 million business or less, that's what I would do.
Okay. Anthony, you want to go?
I would double down on what Rob said. I think the 200K base plus is probably difficult for most, but you can scale that back to 80 to 100K and find some pretty decent folks. I'd partner up with what Rob is mentioning here on an outside hunter with a, Robin, you kind of mentioned it, we call them solution architects. Maybe they have a couple different roles. It may be you in your company, but you partner up with them so they can pick up on the technology side of the business pretty quickly. And then what Rob mentioned as well, back in somebody a little bit younger that's willing to hunt. I think the equity piece is a huge piece. It's what kept me in this business. And I probably will never leave it because of that. The faith, the belief to continue on and truly be a partner in the business because it was thought of as important was a huge piece for me. When you're looking for these folks, we're typically looking for B2B type of folks that have been into a B2B sale. Number one thing I'm looking for is business acumen. We're having business conversations. When we go super tech or super cybersecurity, outside of CIOs and IT managers and stuff, when we're outside of that group, if we go too tech, we're losing deals. We got to be having business conversations about how is this moving you guys forward as an organization. So I'm looking for business acumen. The second thing I'm looking for is executive presence. I need you to be able to sit in a room with executives at a board, at a bank, and be able to communicate those business objectives to those folks as well.
Okay, so you agree, outside sales hunter?
Outside hunter, I'll triple down on hunter versus farming. You have to separate the two. My biggest struggles in my day-to-day right now are folks that we've acquired that are in a hybrid role and have been for 15 years.
Okay.
Big struggle.
Paul or Pete, you guys disagree? Have any different to add to that?
Yeah, well, to a degree, I disagree.
Okay.
You know, and I've seen it in tons of companies, particularly starting with Pete in mind. You know, Pete and I both sold, and Pete's like the best salesperson I know. Well, maybe Rob, but and we would clog the factory, and you know, and at a point going into it, 4 or 5 years into it, it was the factory machines were clogged and they were unhappy, and we had to slow down, stop, reassess how we could spend more time selling, and that was the first person we hired beside us was an account manager. And we got that account manager, we got them in there, we learned how to take care and grow our existing base, and then we made sure, we didn't put on any accounts for a half a year. We made sure we had a great onboarding process. Because if you bring on customers and you cram them onto a machine that's clogged, all you're gonna get is pissed off customers. So I think you have to have your account management in place, and you have to have your onboarding in place, and then turn it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so following that, pulling that thread a little bit, if you're a $2.5 million MSP and you're 20% EBITDA, you've got $500,000 a year in free cash flow, you got $40,000 a month. To bring in somebody at $15,000 a month, you've just invested your future in that person. That is a lot of risk. What I would prefer to see is advertise for 5 different roles. And think of it in terms of a salary cap with a low, a medium, and a high. And I love the sales development rep. I love the marketing coordinator role. I love the account manager role. I love a hunter. And I love a sales manager or VP of sales. And so if you cast a wide net, you give yourself enough time, 3, 4, 5 months to find these people. You hire the one that fits you. And so it may sound unorthodox that I'd be hiring, you know, a marketing coordinator before these other roles, but if my socks are blown off by somebody and their energy is so good, we'll have the best marketing department in the industry.
Right.
And then the other things can kind of line up, and I'm not risking my $500,000 annual profit on a single role. If I can do that and I find 2 people and I can get a sales development rep and a hunter, boy, that would be phenomenal. And you can probably fit those in a salary cap to a $2.5 million or a $3.5 million MSP comfortably. Now when I get to be 10 million, now when I've got, you know, 800,000 a month in top line, if I've still got the 20% cash flow coming from that, now I've got $2 million a year. I've got $150,000 a month. I'll reanalyze and do the same exercise. I'll look for 5 different roles, find the person whose energy I can't live without, and then hitch my wagon to their superstar.
Yeah. Don't you agree that you should always be recruiting? I mean, from my perspective, like, I'm always looking. And if I find somebody who's really good, even if I don't have an open role, if they blow me away, you grab them and you figure it out.
Without a
You know?
doubt.
Yeah.
The other thing, you talk to enough people, you know who has it. Like, you talk to somebody whose kid is a senior in college, and you give them a courtesy interview, and they're fine. They'll be fine. They'll help be contributing member of society. But once in a while, you see those kids, and I've made an offer. I had 2 interns this summer, one from Pepperdine, she's a math major, and another from North Carolina A&T. And I've already given them written job offers.
Okay.
Now, it's a stalking horse. I do expect someone's going to pay them more money, but I would love to have those kids come back.
Yeah.
They're going to be phenomenal, and I would love to be able to take advantage of it.
Very cool.